Shalom. This is Levi Shore. Welcome back to Swing Good Torah. All right, Parsha Vayeitzei. So we're going to see Yaakov Avinu. We're going to see Jacob leave Eretz Yisrael. He's going to leave the land of Israel, and he's going to go and start a family of his own. He's going to marry Rachel and Leah. He's going to marry Rachel and Leah, and he's going to have the 12 sons, which are called the 12 Shavatim, the 12 tribes. And we're going to see the three main qualities that are crucial to create the Jewish people. So it's interesting. There's a midrash that says when Yaakov went up to Har Moriah, when he went up to Mount Moriah, or Mount Moriah, I forgot how it's translated into English. It's called the Har Abayis. It's the place where the two temples were built, and B'ezrat Hashem in the future we'll see the third Beis HaMikdash, the third temple. So as he was sleeping there, Hashem gave him a prophetic vision, a nevuah of all Jewish history. But what he did is, the Midrash says he took the stones. It's very interesting. He took 12 stones from the Mizbeach. He took 12 stones of the altar built by Abraham during the Akedah. So it was the same Mizbeach. It was the same altar that was used when Abraham was going to offer Yitzhak. And then, of course, Hashem says, Hashem doesn't want human sacrifice. And he told Abraham to offer the korbanos, and that became the avoda, that became the service in the future temples. So the first quality, and then Yaakov takes these 12 stones, and then miraculously, as he's sleeping, we see these 12 stones unite together into one stone, and that's going to be a siman. That's going to be a sign that his 12 sons will unite together to form the Jewish people. Okay, so what are the qualities that can bring, what is the qualities that can unite the Jewish people? Because that is a huge question these days. And what are the three qualities that go into building the Jewish people? And then these are qualities that we can use and desperately need in our lives right now. So it all begins with Avraham Avinu. It all begins with Abraham. So the first midah, or the first quality, is the quality of chesed, of kindness, and it's crucial. And the Torah begins with chesed. The Torah begins with Hashem making clothes for Adam and Chava, for Adam and Eve, after they eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And it ends with chesed, with Hashem personally bearing Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses himself. And then the whole world is created with chesed, created with kindness. The whole act of creation is the ultimate act of giving, of kindness, of creating a world and creating people and filling that world with a huge variety of animal life and plant life and a variety of fruits and vegetables and just everything good that's in the world. And so kindness, or chesed, is the very first attribute. So Abraham and Sarah, they spent their lives teaching this aspect of Hashem. And they said their tents were open on all four sides, and they would welcome strangers into the homes. And I don't believe there was hotels. There's no concept of hotels. I think the concept of a hotel was started with Abraham. He was the one that created the very idea of hospitality for travelers. So people were wary. They're traveling. Sometimes it could be very dangerous. And he gave them like these rich, lavish banquets. Sarah would cook these amazing gourmet feasts, all kinds of foods and drink, and just give them a safe place to stay. And it was just this amazing act of kindness. And instead of charging them this elaborate bill, for everything that he's given them, he wanted something very simple in return. Just make a simple bracha. Just make a simple blessing, thanking Hashem for all the food and everything you got, and just make a simple blessing of gratefulness for the food. And that's the first aspect. And kindness, or chesed, is the first quality of the Jewish people, and it's something that's, so needed in the world today. We see sometimes there's just this lack of empathy and care for other people, and kindness can really transform the world into a place that we want to live in. So the first aspect is chesed. Now the second quality, or midah, is called gevura. It's strength. And this was what Yitzhak dedicated his life to. So it's the strength, or it's really the strength of self-control. And there's so many, we live in an age where there's so many things to refrain from. It's just, we live in a society that just, there's all the boundaries have been taken off, all the morality, there's nothing containing everyone. It's just like, it's a society that says any physical, desire is okay, everything goes. And in that kind of world, In a world where just immorality is just, even in the ads of news sites, it's just everywhere is just pictures of immorality and modesty. And we really need to refrain, and have the gevura, have the self-control to refrain from what's harmful to us. And one great example of this in Yitzhak's life is when he continues the mission of Abraham of kindness, but sometimes it takes strength. Sometimes it takes strength to fight for the kindness in this world. So, for instance, Abraham, he dug all these wells. So when travelers were passing through Eretz Israel, and Israel was a major trade route, as it still is, because it was between Africa and Asia and Europe. So everyone was passing through the Middle East. And there was many, many travelers, and he dug these wells just as a pure act of kindness, that the travelers would have something to drink. So the police team, they filled up all the wells because they were scared of invaders. So then Yitzhak, what he did is he took an amazing act of gevura, and even at risk to his own life, he redug the well. So sometimes it takes this strength to keep, kindness going and fight for the kindness, and then have that power of self-control, which is, it's a quality we desperately need in the world today. So then Jacob, the third generation, what he does is he blends these two qualities together. So he balances chesed, kindness on one side, with gevura, strength, self-control on the other side, and then the balance of the two creates this beautiful midah, this quality of tiferes, which is described as beauty, and it's also described as emes, it's truth. And this is a quality that's so needed in today's world. We don't know, even like once trusted like news sources, everything is so politically biased. I mean, we have a world that doesn't recognize like Hashem's creation, doesn't recognize Hashem's running the world, doesn't recognize Hashem's Torah. So it's the emes is badly needed. How we can discern the truth in a world where everyone has their own biases, and people will bend the truth to suit what they want it to be. So emes is the most important quality. And we see one great example in Yaakov's life is when Abraham was nifter, when Abraham passed away. Yaakov and his twin brother Esau were both 15 years old. So Yaakov was preparing this dish of lentils, which is a meal that's given to mourners because his father Yitzhak is in mourning for his father Abraham. And Esau comes in from the field of doing all these averas, all these sins. And Yaakov sees that Esau doesn't want to carry on the mission of Abraham and Yitzhak. So he sells his birthright. And then it came time for Yitzhak to bless, his oldest son who would carry on the mission. But Yaakov knew that Esau would not, carry on the mission, and already had sold him his birthright. So with the help of his mother Rivka, now Rivka or Rebecca, it's very interesting. So she grew up in the house of Lavan. So her father Lavan was a very crooked man. He was a liar. He was a con artist, and his father Basula was also very much like that. They were wicked people. So Rivka saw through the lies of Esau. She knew like Rishayim, she knew like wicked people, she saw their deception. So she didn't believe like this false, front of holiness that Esau put on that fooled his father Yitzhak. And she saw right through, and she helped Yaakov get what was rightfully his, the blessings. So it's the emes is like sometimes truth has to be fought for. And how do you bring truth out in situations where crooked, where you're dealing with people that are liars or are very deceptive? So it's interesting. So Yaakov had to employ deception for the truth. And he did it at great personal cost. I mean, he was terrified of his father Yitzhak, this holy tzaddik, being angry at him for the deception and then cursing him instead of giving him the blessings. And then his brother Esau, who was this fierce warrior, who would be angry at him and try to kill him for most of his life. So at risk, once again, a great personal risk, Yaakov fought for emes. He fought for truth. And then that's the third quality needed, to complete the Jewish people. And then we see as the simon, the remez, the hint we got earlier, as the 12 stones come together, both of, all three of these qualities are the midos, or the qualities needed to build the Jewish people. And then when Yaakov masters or brings together all three of these qualities, then all 12 of the stones come together, and he has the 12, holy Siddiqim sons, the 12 holy Shavatim, the 12 holy tribes of the Jewish people. So these three qualities were so established by Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov that they're there ingrained in the Jewish people. And if we look deep down into ourselves in situations that are very testing or trying for us, we can call up these qualities. They're there, they're ingrained in us, and we can use them in our own situations, which, when we have huge obstacles put in front of us, we can draw strength from these qualities that are ingrained in us. Okay, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you again soon on Sweet and Good Torah.